All right, what's going on, guys? So this is officially our first new Volume 1 Idle Chatter, because if you didn't catch it, I didn't realize that trimming content out of the video, aka all the dead space and everything, would remove the chat replay. And you kind of need that. Otherwise, it looks like I'm talking to myself and answering questions from Pete Crazy Things in the corner. So I'm going to spend the first few minutes of all future idle chatters just talking about site updates and nifty things going on, sort of like a pickups video slash site update, etc., just to keep things going. So today, on a side note, we were me and don't eat oatmeal cookies before you go on stream. Highly delicious, but very water draining. Me and Becky were supposed to go out on a bike ride this morning, and pretty much everyone in the Chicago area woke up to 4 to 5 inches of snow in the middle of April. So there's that. But that aside, also welcome to the first two people in the chat that literally joined the chat. Let's get some discussion going here. As far as updates to talk about before we get to the main idle chatter stuff, the book for the Madden 97 variant came in. And the funny thing is it's the right book, it's just the wrong one. The book that comes with the Madden 97 variant is actually a soft cover, non-retail barcode version, and the one I got is a hardcover retail barcode version. So while I'll be able to actually read this, I can't actually use it in terms of the variant. So strike one, I guess, or second down on my attempt to try and find that book. Dimension Gamer, hello, aloha. Oh, good choice of words, aloha, considering all the snow. I would love to be in Hawaii right now. All right, so besides the Madden book, as you guys know, I actually work with redump.org in trying to archive and preserve stuff. Not just PlayStation related, but basically whatever I have access to. So in the years to come, in case, there's the disk rot, we all melt, whatever, we have access to the games and the data for the games. To help jumpstart my helping them, because I haven't been able to in a while, I decided to jump from the PlayStation side of helping them to knocking out an entire list from a different category. And that entire list was, and I'm going to drop this, I know, was their entire list of remaining TurboGrafx CD games. Everything from Dynastic Hero to Sim Earth to It Came from the Desert to my favorite copy of Madden, just because it comes in a... actually, let me show it to you guys. If you're not a TurboGrafx fan but you've seen my favorite cases video, you know why I love the Turbo Duo version of John Madden Football. Because it comes in a double-sized jewel case. Like, this is just screams, we've got lots of football. Hybrid, welcome to the stream. What is going on? So they now should have the entire CD list for the TurboGrafx knocked out on redump.org. I literally just sent them all the information right before I jumped online here. So you should see that on them probably within the next 2 weeks or so, give or take. With that out of the way, there's also site updates. For those of you joining us today that weren't on the original broadcast, which I couldn't put up because of the editing faux pas, one of the people on here was requesting more Saturn content, and I am one to please. So I actually got the first 3 Saturn games up on GameRave.com, which is it's all the A's. Albert Odyssey, 3D Baseball, and what the other one was. I have to get a muck on there. And then because I really don't want to review that 3D controller thing yet that I showed on the original broadcast, I instead will jump into a pause mode episode next, because we haven't really done one in a long time. And to go with a humor irony sake, the first Saturn game that I'll have reviewed in a long time will be Toshinden Remix. Now, I chose this game just because A, it's a PlayStation game on the Sega Saturn. B, it was actually reprogrammed by Sega. They basically licensed it from Takara and did their own version. And I find that fascinating because for the Saturn, which was not known for its 3D. That meant Sega was like, hey guys, we're going to take your 3D game and show that we can do it on our system. And I actually played through 2 rounds of the story mode last night with Sophia and I forgot his name now, the blonde guy, the who wants to be Ken, Eiji's friend. And it has its issues. Like, obviously the textures are muddy and stuff, and like the backgrounds are technically, most of the backgrounds are flat. They're not like the true 3D that the PlayStation version has. But it's still playable, even in that rough original playable mode. But it's fun to pick up just because in the story mode, they decided to add these beautiful anime illustrations and then apply the world's worst voice acting to them. Like, you can clearly tell it's some like white guy custodian in the building playing Foe. I think his name is the old guy with the claws. Anki's back. Hello. I love that username. Seriously, I was actually telling Becky about it. So next pause mode will be Toshinden on the Saturn. What's weird is too is it introduced a couple new moves and a new character, but I don't think the new character was selectable from the main screen, at least in story mode. So I'll have to jump back into arcade mode and see if they're there. Other than that, the big news not on my site is that my buddy Ken DeYoung, his music is now officially up on Spotify and iTunes. When I first mentioned it on social media, he only had like 1 song had only made it to Spotify. I think like 2 or 3 had made it to iTunes. And like literally the next day I woke up and like now there's just tons and tons. My favorite song out of all of them so far is one I've actually used for Game Rave. It's called A Perfect Kill. And I have used it for exercising. I've used it for the web, for the YouTube videos. It's just this amazing like kick-ass song that you could literally imagine being used for like a Ridge Racer opening or like an action movie. It's really cool. So I'm extremely happy for him. I've literally been listening to it I used to listen to his music because he by myself, and I would just listen to the copies he gave me. But now I actually listen to him on Spotify because I can whore his ass out. And give him the actual credit he deserves, and hopefully get more people streaming his music and buying it off of iTunes and Bandcamp and so forth. So yeah, that basically does it for site updates, what's going on, things like that. Let us get the conversation going. Hello to all the new people. I see 6 people, but there's only 3 people in chat. Get your ass in there. A discussion I was having with a group of friends this morning when I realized I couldn't do the bicycles was, with all the new clone systems like the Polygon, the Analog, the new Mega Drive when it came out, I wanted to flip the script, and rather than see like another system come out, let's imagine that like all systems across all time, 3DO, Jaguar, Nintendo, you name it, they've all been somehow re-released with HDMI outputs and stereo sound effects. If you could pick one retro system to develop for in the modern era, so you've got all the new the technology, all the new sprite tools to be made, what system would you want to develop for, and then what type of game would you want to make for it, or what game would you like to port? To get the conversation going, 3 came right to mind, and they're all ports, if you will. The first obvious one would be bad things would happen if I could see the entire Mass Effect trilogy brought to the original PlayStation 1. And to understand how easy it could be to at least get something thrown up on a platter, is you could literally take Blaster Master's engine for the Mako, and then you could dig like Siphon Filter or like Apocalypse's engine for the actual combat scenarios and so forth. I can't fathom what the HUD display would look like. Special effects would probably be like cheesy, simple polygons and so forth. But can you imagine like getting Mass Effect 1 for the PlayStation and it's just like a 44 CD case? It would be, and then there's the DLC. Can you imagine DLC? It'd be like you have to like throw in different memory cards that have the different save data on there, or it'd be like the GTA London disc would be pretty cool. The second one I would want to develop for would be the Turbo Duo. And if you don't know way back in the day, it was rumored, I think it was actually proven true, it was rumored that the original Mortal Kombat 1 was supposed to have been coming to the Turbo Duo. And on the Japanese side, there was what's called the arcade card that was released to the system. It's basically more memory. And when you plug that in, they actually ported a couple Neo Geo games to it, like Fatal Fury 2 and Special and World Heroes. And the Turbo Duo, which, I mean, it is a graphically powerful system at the time, but to see how well the conversions of the SNK games came to it because of the RAM was just incredible. And I would love to see the Duo with the arcade card, even a bigger arcade card, more memory, how it could have handled fighting games that it didn't get a chance to really do real well. Like Konami's Martial Champions was a great arcade game, but it just sucked on the Duo. I'd have loved to seen like Super Turbo on there. And then the third one, I didn't really have a choice. Like I was trying to think of think outside the fanboy systems to like figure out like what would I want to port to make me buy that system. And Mass Effect aside, it would probably be something for like something just stupidly obscure, like the FM Towns Marty or like the 3DO, like those systems that like they had their games and they had their good games, but they didn't actually have the third party following. But I wouldn't know I want to port to it. So yeah, literally tell me what system would you guys want to program for, and what games would you want to make for it, be it ports or otherwise. Hit up the chat. Let's get this going. But yeah, other than that, like I said, I was playing Toshinden. The poor game room needs to be cleaned badly, especially organized, because we're eventually going to have people out here measuring for our windows. I have to move the huge TV and the stands from the move the window and cover everything up with sheets, because you really don't want someone to walk in and be like, wow, that's a nice library you got there, and see it disappear when you're not here. Let's see. Dimension Gamer says, I've always thought that any game can be ported to any system. It's just a matter of what gets taken away for the weaker systems. So I think I would love to see things like The Witcher 1. I'm assuming P1 is PlayStation 1. That would be amazing. Gerald, he would literally be like 5 polygons with a line just coming out. Now here's the question for you. Considering Mass Effect and The Witcher, how would you do the romance scenes? Would they be the in-game graphics? It's like 2 Lego characters just trying to get on. That would actually be pretty funny. Crisis on an 8-bit system? It'd probably be Contra. In fact, that'd actually be really, really cool now I think about it. It would probably be like Super Contra, just to get the extra sprite work in the background, some of the animations. I've never looked at the console and thought, can it run Crisis? Which is a running joke for PC users all the time. That would be hilarious. That's like the homebrew version of, I shake my computer table. That's like the homebrew version of Halo that someone did for the 2600, where it looked like it was basically Master Chief stuck in the ET engine, which was pretty funny. God, what else would there be? Or it'd be really interesting to see how you bring up a good point as far as taking away things, because it would actually be nifty to see how you could fake stuff that you couldn't do from the previous system. Case in point, with Toshinden on the Saturn can't do transparencies like the PlayStation can. So in order to do transparency on the Saturn, imagine taking a checkerboard and you've got your black and red squares, and let's say you want to make a gray color. You would actually just remove all the red squares, so it's just the black, and then where the red was is clear, so you can see behind it. And that's how you got your grays or your transparent colors. I think her name's Ellis, the young green-haired girl in Toshinden. When it first came out on PlayStation, everyone was freaking out because she was the first character to have a transparent outfit. Like, she's essentially wearing like a bathing suit leotard, and then she's got this like cloth, I don't know, clothing, basically shirt and skirt, and it looked incredible for the time of the PlayStation. Well, when it got to dithering, thank you. When you got to the Saturn, they did the dithering checkerboard thing, and up close, it doesn't look that bad. But when the camera pans back a little bit as you're getting away from each other, it literally looks like she's got Chex Mix just stapled to her. Like, it's really, really bad. The Mortal Kombats are really about that too, especially in the health bars, and the win icons are just really, really dithered. I'm thinking about, see, now you got me thinking about this, and this is bad because I can talk about this forever. Like, if you think about how like Street Fighter Alpha 3 used the polygons and the special effects to get more animation frames in the memory, like how would you fake like No Man's Sky? Like like you obviously couldn't technically do like, I guess you could do a 3D world. It'd be like Aquanaut's Holiday, but instead of the blue effect over the landscapes, you could just have like black space background and random spheres, and then I guess have a loading screen between the planet and when you land on it. That's another game where you could basically just use Blaster Master's engine. Oh, that's so many things you could do with it. But yeah. So here's a question for you: are you guys like, what are you guys playing nowadays? Like what, if you weren't watching me blabber on for a couple of minutes, like what would you be playing right now and in what system? Having finished Darksiders, I really haven't touched my living room consoles in a while because I've been focusing on Game Rave and so forth. But now obviously I'm playing Toshinden on the Saturn, and then I need to start playing War Gods for the eventual Game Rave episode, which, now I think about it, is a lot of fighting games. Ramon, hello. What is going on? Welcome to the chat. Ramon, if you are just joining us, one of the questions is if you could pick a system to program a modern day game for, what system would it be and what game would it be? Speaking of classic systems, like I realized when I was doing the redump stuff for the TurboGrafx, it was like only the first or second time I've put some of these games into my Turbo Duo, and I can guarantee you if it was the second time, at least 3/4 of them, it wasn't because the first time I played them all the way through. I'm willing to bet I probably got them from Turbo's own Direct or like eBay or something, and just threw it in to make sure it worked and then put it on the shelf. So with Darksiders now finished, and me not replaying Mass Effect 1 on the PlayStation 3 for the 15th time, I am. I should probably start going through some Turbo Duo games. That way at least get some stuff going for the pause mode. Mike Tyson's version on Nintendo Wii. Oh, that'd be cool. You know what's funny? Speaking of Punch-Out, this actually goes back to a conversation I've talked about on and off on Gamer TV with how I'm terrified of the future generations because of losing the DLC and the digital-only games. It never occurred to me until I was transferring all the Wii content to my Wii U before putting my Wii away, is that a lot of like the Punch-Out DLC that was a Nintendo Club Direct exclusive, where it was basically boss mode against Coach, who's, how's his name? Joe Mac. I'm trouble with names, but yeah, that version was never made like publicly. It was only through Nintendo Selects that you got the code and so forth. So that's a game that if someone hasn't figured out how to hack off the system and upload and download, it's lost forever. And it was a really cool DLC. I mean, I'm glad I spent the points for it because there was never really anything else I wanted aside, like, I didn't care about the stylus or the postcards and so forth. And I got my thing about the Wii now. The Wii, like, and this is why it's called idle chatter, because I just ramble. The Wii had like as much shovelware as the Wii got. The Wii Bowling and Wii Sports Resort Bowling are like two of the best bowling games ever. Like after that, it's like 10 Pin Alley, yeah, but it's like Brunswick Bowling 2 on the PlayStation, and then the Intellivision Bowling from however many years ago. I love bowling, and I love Wii Sports Resort Bowling. Like, I can't tell you the number of 300 games I've thrown. I did the 1,000 game legitimately, not the bumper button. Ramon, I wish I could put WWF WrestleFest on PlayStation 4. Ooh. Now here's the question for you. Obviously, you would want the original arcade version, 4-player, but would you want to see it upgraded though? Like, would you want to see them in full 3D, crazy textures, all the individual hairs, stuff like that? I've noticed that that's a very hit or miss issue, especially like in the early PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 days when they were doing all those remasters of, like, especially on PlayStation, with the Atari games, like redone Asteroids, redone Missile Command. Well, it's weird how if you're playing the original, the gameplay and the graphics go perfect together. But I noticed that, like, if you keep the same gameplay but update the graphics alone, for some reason it doesn't seem to gel as well. Like I love Missile Command, and trying to play the PlayStation 1 version, it just felt weird and wrong. And I can't really explain it. Asteroids was actually pretty decent, but for some reason, like, all the new power-ups that they add into it just kind of turned me off. Like, I actually missed the original, just you have a pew-pew and that's it. Anki, I play PS4 and the games I'm playing now is Outward, The Forest, Portal Knights, Farm Together, No Man's Sky, Boundless, a little. Oh, and I jump between so many games. We're all guilty of it. In my younger days, before Game Rave was a full-time thing, I literally used to have a game for every system lined up. So, like, if I wasn't playing Street Fighter on Super Nintendo, I would jump to Lunar on the Sega CD. If I wasn't playing that, I'd jump to the TurboGrafx with Ninja Spirit for the 400th time. So I can understand that completely. And that can actually be an issue that is particularly relevant and prosperous in the modern era, just because of all the indie developed games and the portable games. Like, mobile games are designed to just be easy jump in, jump out. And if you have like 50 of them, it can be pretty impressive to have that. Not pretty impressive, but it can be that type of problem. I really tried to pull that back, especially with me trying to take care of Game Rave and everything. What I usually do is I'll have what I call the long haul. So, like, bases loaded or a role-playing game, and then I'll have the quick games. So, like, if I'm working on a review for, say, Wild Arms, when I need to break from that, I'll jump into just, say, playing Street Fighter or what's the name of that game? I love that game, and I can't think of it now. Starfighter Sandvine. That way I can just have a quick fix and the long haul, and if I need a break from both, I can just come and work on the site or hang out with Becky and so forth. I would love to see that upgraded. Of course, Pong. Yeah, Pong. You know what's funny though, Hybrid? With Pong is the PlayStation's version of Pong is absolutely one of the greatest games I've ever played. I really need to get that together. Did I do a review on that? I don't remember. I think I just mentioned it in the Atari games episode. The amount of